Alrighty, greetings and salutations everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff and welcome to our Friday night live stream for week 14 of the 2024 fantasy football season. There's been a lot of information today, A lot of injuries, a lot of unknowns that now are known going into week 14, as if we thought the bye-apocalypse was, it was already difficult to handle with 6 teams on bye. I don't know why the NFL decides to put 6 teams on bye in week 14. I mean, it is what it is. But not only that, earlier today we got confirmation. As you can see here, we have Braylon Allen as the thumbnail of today's Hidden Gems episode. We got confirmation earlier today that Breece Hall is out going into this week. Or he's not out, but he's been given the doubtful designation. Like we've talked about, the doubtful designation is the kiss of death. Now, also, the reason why we have the one and only Zach Charbonnet as the thumbnail of this live stream is because earlier today, for a third consecutive day, we have Kenneth Walker missing practice and having the DNP designation, which is did not participate. He's probably doubtful to play this upcoming weekend. So as if it wasn't already difficult enough to, obviously manage your way through week 14 in a win to get in scenario, we have more obstacles to deal with. Over the course of the next hour, we're going to try to help you get through those obstacles, answering any and all fantasy football related questions. If you guys have a question, make sure you type it in the live chat. And if you want priority, of course, send in a super chat. When you do so, regardless of which way you do it, make sure you include your scoring format. Standard, half PPR, full PPR, doesn't matter. As long as you provide context in regards to your question, it'll make it easier to answer your question. Outside of that, hope you guys are doing well on this wonderful Friday. Obviously, week 14, it hasn't started out the right way. Last night, many of us upset about the overall contributions of some of our receivers and or tight ends. But going into this weekend, hopefully we can, at least put together a couple big performances here to make the fantasy playoffs and get ourselves one step closer to that championship. Okay. So, shall we begin? I think we shall. Steven Drakes sends in the first super chat of the day. Steven says, hey Andrew, in a half PPR, if Walker is out, okay, under the assumption, this is a hypothetically speaking, if he is out, would you flex Jonnu Smith or Chuba Hubbard? As of right now, between those two, I would rather play Jonnu Smith this week. Next question says, would you play Murray or Purdy? That one, let me actually pull up my rankings from Thursday's Patreon. Let's go to Patreon rankings. Boom. Okay. As of right now, I have Purdy ahead of him. Could I justify the idea of playing Kyler Murray ahead of Purdy? Absolutely, but for right now, I'm still in line with playing Brock Purdy there. And then your next question is, and MVS is a good play this week. I think MVS is a solid play. Is he a good play? No, because again, he's only going to catch the ball 1 to 2 times. And if he scores a touchdown, we are in the bonus. If he doesn't score a touchdown, we are in a shambles situation in which, unfortunately, wherever you put him, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, flex, wherever you've set him up in your lineup, he's either getting you 12 points or 2 points. Let's just hope that we're on another successful streak of a 4th consecutive game with a touchdown here, Steven. Thank you. All right, moving on to a question that comes in from Trey. Trey says, in a full PPR league, start 2, Pollard, Allen, Charbonnet, Grendo. Okay, so under the assumption, let's say, for example, hypothetically speaking, Kenneth Walker is not available on Sunday morning during the live stream starting at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning while I'm here answering questions. If we get a designation that Kenneth Walker is not going to play, at that point, I would play Charbonnet alongside of Pollard as the top 2 running backs. Now, in the event in which Kenneth Walker somehow, someway does play on Sunday, at that point, Trey, I would suggest you playing Pollard and Garendo. Thank you. And then your next question was Hawkinson or Jonnu Smith. I'm all in on Jonnu Smith. He has been incredible as of late. His opportunity share is consistent, and that is what is most valuable in fantasy football. Opportunity leading to success, which unfortunately, Hawkinson has gone up and down that overall conversation as of late. Thank you. Moving on to a question that comes in from Tex Raider. Tex, thank you very much. Says, hey Andrew, I have Barkley, Bijan, Chubb, Algier, and Njoku. Someone dropped Ramondre and Ingram. Okay, that's very interesting. Clinched my playoffs that are week 16 and 17. With these matchups in mind, what moves would you make, if any? Okay, so this is actually interesting. So considering the players that have been dropped, if I was in your position, I would be most interested specifically because when I look at the idea of picking up Ramondre, I would love to, but who am I going to drop? It would be Nick Chubb primarily. If I go look at NFL Week 16 in specific, let's look at the schedule here. So Ramondre, if I'm not mistaken, plays the Bills, but I don't know who. Let's see. Nick Chubb takes on the Bengals, which could be a pretty solid matchup in that regard, but I don't love it. If I was in your position, and then let's move on to Week 17. Let's see what the schedule pans out for the Patriots. They take on, where are the Patriots? They take on the Chargers and then the Browns take on the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, if I was in your position, to be honest, Tex, I would drop Nick Chubb and I'd pick up Ramondre Stevenson. Obviously, you're not going to probably play Chubb this week. Now, if you were in a position to where you had to play Chubb this week, then of course you keep him on roster. But in the event in which you're like, hey, listen, I don't need to win or lose because again, you've already clinched the first round bye, you're good to go, Tex. At that point, I'm dropping Chubb. I'm picking up Ramondre. And I don't think you need Ingram, especially with Trevor Lawrence out. I think Njoku is going to be your starter henceforth every game, especially considering the upcoming schedule for the Cleveland Browns. Cincinnati is a top 5 matchup, and in Miami, I'm not too worried about it either, considering what Tucker Kraft did to them most recently on Thanksgiving Day. Thank you, Tex. Appreciate it. Let's see here. OJ Running sends in a question. Says, drop Jonathan Brooks for Travis Homer in a PPR. Thanks. I mean, look, Travis Homer is only going to have value in the event in which DeAndre Swift misses. Obviously, DeAndre Swift was a DNP, did not participate in both Wednesday and Thursday's practice of this week, but did get a LP, limited practice, earlier today. So I'm going to assume that he ends up playing this week. Now, if you wanted to play it safe and potentially have the insurance policy of Travis Homer in the event in which you could theoretically play him over some of your alternative options, sure, I'd be willing to make that swap in order to pick him up just in the case of where I can maybe throw him in there on Sunday morning and play him in the event in which somehow DeAndre Swift has a setback and doesn't play. In the event in which DeAndre Swift is active, Travis Homer of the Chicago Bears, I don't expect him to do much. Thank you. All right, moving on to a question from Ben Pierce. Ben, thank you very much. Says in a PPR RB2, Pollard, Braylon Allen, Tracy Jr. Out of those three, I am most inclined to play Tony Pollard, especially coming off of his most recent performances. Additionally, this most recent week in a game in which Tyjae Spears had only 1 total touch and 14 total snaps played, the least amongst all of the games in which Tyjae Spears has played thus far this season. That's the least amount of snaps and touches he's gotten in a singular game. Pollard is the clear and away RB1 of that offense, as we know, and taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars is too advantageous of a matchup, in my opinion, to pass up in this circumstance. So Pollard is my suggestion there. And then your next question says, double flex league, pick 2 between Jennings, Wilson, Mooney, Tracy, Pollard, Braylon Allen. Cool. In a double flex league, under the assumption that it's a full PPR scoring format, I'd go with Pollard and Juwan Jennings. And then to your final question, 6-point per passing touchdown league, Kyler or Tua Tagovailoa, I will play Tua there. He has been incredible as of late and is only going to continue his momentum against that Jets defense. Again, do not forget Sauce Gardner, given the doubtful designation as well this week, unlikely to play. All right, Muscle March Fitness sends in a question. Thank you very much, Muscle. I appreciate it. It says, hey, Andrew, happy Friday. Happy Friday to you as well. It says Rico Dowdle or James Conner. Yeah, as of right now, I've kind of messed around with it a little bit. I believe I have Rico Dowdle ranked higher. I do. So as of right now, my suggestion would be to play Rico Dowdle against the Cincinnati Bengals. And then it says, I started Josh Jacobs as my RB1. I'm feeling good about it. Yeah, as of right now, I'd be really comfortable rolling with Rico Dowdle, especially after the last 2 weeks of production, primarily him getting 20-plus touches in those last 2 games. He's going to continue to get himself a high volume of utilization, even though Zach Martin is going on the season-ending IR with the surgery required. Even last week was without Zach Martin in the lineup. So again, they were still able to run the ball without their all-pro guard. I'm not too worried about the overall situation. Between the two, I do prefer Rico. Thank you. Boy J sends in a question. Says, questions below. Thank you as always. No problem, Boy J. All right, so you had a question. Says, I'm in a rough spot in a full PPR. Who do I start? Brock Purdy or Mac Jones or Aiden O'Connell? Okay, so I think all of them could theoretically have a potential solid week. O'Connell taking on Tampa Bay's defense. Again, Tampa Bay is the best matchup at the quarterback position, but it's O'Connell, right? There's always a possibility that he could somehow, some way mess this up. Mac Jones is in the same breath, right? There's a reason why these guys are primarily backup quarterbacks. There's a possibility they can come out and pop off, but between the three, I'm going to play Brock Purdy there if it's my roster. And then your next question is, and for running back, we have Braylon Allen and Chuba Hubbard or Abdullah or Nick Chubb. Okay, so if we have 2 different questions there. In the first question, Braylon Allen or Chuba Hubbard, I would rather play Braylon Allen under the assumption that, again, while we are trending on the path to Breece Hall being inactive on Sunday, if he ends up actually being inactive, then great, we would play Braylon Allen there. And then your next question, Abdullah or Nick Chubb, under the assumption that it is, let me see where I have them in a full PPR, because half PPR, I'm going to play Nick Chubb. Full PPR, I'm going to play Nick Chubb as well. So regardless of which way we go about this, in terms of health, regarding the backfield of the Las Vegas Raiders, whether Alexander Mattison is active or not, I'm playing Nick Chubb regardless in that second question. Thank you. All right, we move on to a question that comes in from Tommy Gunn. Tommy, thank you. Says, I snagged Braylon. Whew, yeah, close one. Should I start Tracy or him in the flex? I'd prefer to play, as of right now, I would prefer to play Braylon Allen. That's the way that I'd go about it. Look, the only issue that I have primarily with Tyrone Tracy is that the offense is inept. And due to the ineptitude of said offense, it is most likely going to be a situation in which they're going to have to throw the ball for majority of the game. I don't believe that they're going to put themselves in a position to where they are mounting a lead. Now, I could be completely wrong. I could have a complete wrong analysis as to how these two teams have performed recently and how this game could transpire on Sunday. In the event in which the Giants come out and take a lead, Tracy would dominate because their run-stop defense is awful in New Orleans. But I don't expect that to be the case considering the backup quarterback situation. I mean, even if it was Daniel Jones, I wouldn't have as much confidence. So truly between the two, I would rather play Braylon Allen at the moment over Tyrone Tracy. I think Tracy could be revisited as a potential start starting week 16 and 17. But for the next 2 weeks here, again, it's just a little bit sketchy in my mind. Thank you. Alrighty, let's see here. Marvin Lewis sends in a question. Thank you, Marvin. I appreciate it. Says, bro, help. With capital HELP with 5 exclamation points. Says standard 1 flex league or pick up a flex. Roster consists of Nick Westbrook-Ikine, Thielen, Hunt, add Spears, Homer, or Elijah Moore. Cool. In a standard league where you get 0 points per reception, I am playing Nick Westbrook-Ikine confidently there, Marvin. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to a question that comes in from Serge. Serge, thank you very much. Says full PPR. Start 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex. Okay, what do we got here? We have Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, Tyrone Tracy, Braylon Allen, Kenneth Walker, / Charbonnet, depending on the starter. Okay, cool. So let's put it this way. The RB1 is either Kenneth Walker or Charbonnet. Whichever one of the two start today, or on Sunday, excuse me. Whichever one of the two is available as a starting running back is your RB1. Your RB2 at that point would be Braylon Allen. Your starting wide receiver 1 would be Higgins. Your wide receiver 2 would be Marvin Harrison Jr. And then in your flex position, considering the full PPR format, I am playing Garrett Wilson there. Thank you. All right, moving on to Amazing AJ, who says in a 16-team PPR, wow, okay, 16 teams, says I need a tight end. Start Gesicki or Calcaterra. I would much rather play Calcaterra. Now, let me tell you exactly why. The issue that I have with Mike Gesicki is the lack of consistent opportunity share within the offense. Considering there are always 4 tight ends in a rotation of getting snaps, but not only snaps, target opportunity within the Cincinnati Bengals offense, and that this has been a consistent path going back to even last season. We haven't had a really just mainstay tight end that is going to get receptions every single game for the offense. I mean, even when Eric All went down, we thought, okay, maybe we'll get more Mike Gesicki. It has not changed. He has continued to play his similar role. When there's Drew Sample, Tanner Hudson, I think Cam Grandy played last week. Like, when there's so many guys in the rotation getting touches, Mike Gesicki is just purely a toss-up. Does he get himself the targets or does he not? Oftentimes, even in good matchups, we have seen him void of targets because he's just not implemented to be a part of the game plan unless we have a guarantee of Higgins out, which isn't the case. So for right now, I'm leaning towards Calcaterra. We talked about it earlier in regards to the Hidden Gems episode, so I'm sure you heard that, and that's the direction I'm going in. Thank you. We Buy Home sends in a question, says in a non-PPR scoring format. My 2 running backs are Tony Pollard and Montgomery. Beautiful, fantastic. Says I had Breece Hall in the flex, but he's doubtful. Says who should I start in his spot? Garendo, Myers, or Rashad White? In a non-PPR scoring format, I'm playing Garendo. The only time I would play Rashad White there is if there's a chance that that Bucky Irving does not play, which I don't think is going to be the case. He practiced today, so we're going to probably see him play. So by the time you get to Sunday, I'm playing Garendo there. Thank you. In your flex position. Be confident with that as well, as he's going to be solid against Chicago. Greg sends in a question. Thank you very much, Greg. Says in a full PPR, I need 3. We have Garrett Wilson, we have Chuba Hubbard, we have Elijah Moore, Devontae Smith, Nick Westbrook, Ikine, and Sharps. Okay. So under the assumption that Kenneth Walker doesn't play, hypothetically speaking, Charbonnet would be the primary number 1. Legitimately, I would play him above all these options. And then my next favorite options in this conversation would be Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore. That's the way that I'd go about it there, Greg. Thank you. Ashley Gomez sends in a question. Thank you very much, Ashley. Since I have T. Higgins, I have Shakir, I have Nick Westbrook-Ikine, I have Jacoby Myers, and Elijah Moore. I need 2.5 PPR. Thanks. Okay. So of these available options, T. Higgins is the monster. He is the automatic start, scoring 14 plus fantasy points in the last 5 games he's participated in. He has been incredible, and he's out, I want to say 3 of the last 5 games out targeting Jamar Chase when they've played together. He's the automatic. Now, as for the next best option, if this is a full PPR, we'd go about probably playing Shakir, but considering it's not, I'm going to play Jacoby Myers as the next best option there. So T. Higgins, Jacoby Myers. Thank you. All right, we move on to a question that comes in from, let's see here. OJ Running says, Jennings or McConkey in a PPR? I am 1,000. It's not even close. I'm telling you, it's not even close. I am playing McConkey. The guy, I made a horrible mistake this offseason. I made a horrible one. I got too cute with it. Sometimes, when I look at the numbers, I think, all right, how can I maybe get an edge? I thought it was going to be Josh Palmer, man. I really did. Sometimes the easiest answer, the most obvious answer is the answer. And in this case, it's been McConkey the whole time. Going back to the preseason, I overlooked it. The guy is a machine. He is too good. As a rookie, it does not matter. He is the offense purely. And without a running game, he'll even be more of the offense, at least in terms of the baseline of overall opportunity share. Thank you. Smitty sends in a question. Thank you, Smitty. Says in a half PPR, we have Brandon Cooks or Devontae Smith. As of right now, I'm still going to play Devontae Smith there. Opponent has CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, even with the CeeDee Lamb contingent there, I'm still very comfortable playing Devontae Smith over Brandon Cooks within the given week. I could see a reality in which Brandon Cooks could find himself in the end zone and be more relevant in that regard, but as of right now, I'm going to still lean towards Devontae Smith. I do believe that in terms of the opportunity share that he gets typically in the absence of Dallas Goedert within the offense, there is a sizable boost of target count, typically averaging around 8 targets per game when Dallas Goedert is not in the lineup. Thank you. Let's see here. We scroll down. We had a question from OJ Running as another follow-up. Says Swift or Braylon Allen? I'd much rather play Braylon Allen. Thank you. Moving on to another question from Jason S. Apologies. Jason, where art thou question? Let's hear. Jason S. Jason, if you could do me a favor, there wasn't anything attached to your original super chat. If you could do me a favor and type in the live chat, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you, Jason. Until then, Nostradamus sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, I need a wide receiver flex. Okay. We have DJ Moore, BTJ, Rachaad White, and Charbonnet. Cool. So let's put it this way. We're going to put a couple contingencies on this. Let's say, for example, considering you have Charbonnet, let's say Kenneth Walker plays on Sunday, hypothetically speaking. He plays. At that point, you are playing DJ Moore and BTJ. In the event in which Kenneth Walker does not play, you would then play DJ Moore and Charbonnet. Now, let's say, for example, there's another circumstance, hypothetically speaking, in which because you have Rachaad White, let's say Bucky Irving doesn't somehow play on Sunday morning. In the event in which that doesn't occur and Kenneth Walker's active, then you would go with DJ Moore and Rachaad White. In the event in which there's a possibility where there's no Kenneth Walker and no Bucky Irving, again, we're going multiverse, okay? In the event in which all that takes place, then you play both running backs, okay? So you might need to rewind that, Nostradamus, to get a full understanding as to what the fuck I just said. But that's all the contingency under the assumption that everybody's healthy again, DJ Moore and BTJ. Otherwise, we're hoping that in your case, that Kenneth Walker's inactive so you can play Sharps with DJ Moore. Thank you. Ibrahim sends in a question. Thank you, Ibrahim. Says, in week 16, is Ingram versus Las Vegas a top 5 tight end? Or do you like Andrews versus the Steelers more? No, I'd much rather play Ingram versus the Las Vegas Raiders. I'd much rather. It's not even remotely close. Look, Mark Andrews, very much so touchdown dependent, but against the Steelers last time out, completely shut him down outright. The only tight end that was securing receptions in that game was Isaiah Likely. If I'm not mistaken, in that most recent game against the Steelers, Mark Andrews had like 2 catches for 26. Very underwhelming performance. Again, if he scores a touchdown, he makes his week. But in that given week, I can almost guarantee you, by the time we get to week 16, I will have Ingram ranked higher, considering the matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders. And then it says also, I'm thinking about trading Breece Hall for Jacobs. Was the best thing I've ever done. Yeah, it is. It will end up being the reason why you win the league most likely. Because Josh Jacobs, I mean, I love it. I love to see it, man. The amount of shares of Josh Jacobs I have, guys, it's almost irresponsible how much Josh Jacobs I drafted this offseason. All right, moving on. Tex Raider sends in a question. Says PPR. 2 flex league, Tracy, Pacheco, Jennings, Judy, Isaac Guerrero. Cool. Of those available options, I'm going to suggest you play Guerrero and Judy. That's my 2 suggestions there. I could justify playing Jennings with Judy, but as of right now, I would rather play the starting running back of the 49ers alongside of Judy, who has been incredible for the last 5 weeks here with Jameis Winston under center. Even in the game in which it was a snow game, the guy was balling out. So, yeah, we know Judy's the automatic. I would go with Isaac Guerrero as the next best. Thank you. Moving on to Sam's question. It says, question is below. All right, Sam, let me get to your question in just a moment. I was waiting to see if perhaps Jason had sent in his follow-up question. Jason, you in the chat by any chance, man? Jason, if you could do me a favor, because I haven't seen you type. I'm sure you're somewhere here. Maybe you stepped away from the computer or got hit with an ad. If you didn't hear me the first time, Jason S., if you could do me a favor, type in your question in the chat again. Perhaps reorganize the way that you type the question in, just in case you're getting auto-moderated shadow banned, just like re-rack the way that you typed in your question. Again, that sounds weird, but trust me, just like re-rack the way that you order your question. Maybe reword the a couple of the overall phrases. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Sam says, good evening, Andrew. Good evening to you as well. Says, I need your sage advice. In a half PPR, Braylon Allen, Charbonnet, or Garrett. Okay, cool. If we were in a scenario, hypothetically speaking, in which there is no Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker this upcoming weekend, 10 times out of 10, I am playing Zach Charbonnet this weekend against the Arizona Cardinals in a half PPR scoring format. Now, in the event, for example, let's get there. Let's say, for example, we're in a situation in which Kenneth Walker plays and Breece Hall is not active. So then it's pretty much just between Braylon Allen and Garrett Wilson. In a half PPR, I will take the Jets running back. Thank you. Moving on to a question that comes in from Catacomb Kid. Catacomb, thank you. Says in a half PPR pick 3, we have Braylon Allen, we have White, we have Irving, and we have Tracy. Okay, cool. So you got a lot of great options here. If I'm picking 3 of those available options, I am playing White, Irving, and Allen. Now let me give you a context as to why I'm going about it that way. I don't want any leakage of Irving's value to be lost on your bench. I've mentioned this on Sundays over the course of the last 2 weekends. If you have Irving and White on the same team, you are playing them both in the same game. You should play them every week together. That's the way that I'm going about it henceforth. Just in case White comes in and steals a touchdown, you are not victim of that, considering you have them both on roster. So if I'm in your position, I'm playing Allen, White, and Irving. Under the assumption, of course, again, that Hall is out. Moving on, your next question, Catacomb, was Waddle or Elijah Moore. If it's a full PP, it's a half PPR. That one's interesting because Sauce Gardner being out makes it... I want to play Waddle. That's what I want to do. I think it's probably safer just to play Elijah Moore there, though. Thank you. So if I'm going to make a suggestion, I would tell you to just play Elijah Moore. My heart tells me Waddle. Everything else tells me that Elijah Moore is the correct play. Thank you. All right, moving on. Let's see here. Did Jason send in anything? There's no Jason. Okay, Jason, we'll just leave it at that, and maybe we'll come back later on. We had a question from... okay, OJ, thank you very much. I appreciate it, sir. All right, let's see here. Raghav sends in a question. Raghav, what do we have here? It says, is playing the Eagles defense a safer option than the Saints this week? Just need some guaranteed points to win this week. Honestly, I don't know if it's a safer option per se, because again, what we have seen from the Carolina Panthers offense in the last couple of weeks has been quite promising. Like, it's really been a revitalization. I mean, I'm not even joking. Like, it feels like Bryce Young is an actual quarterback now. Like, he really has cleaned up his overall game and really has played incredibly well, in comparison to where he was earlier this year or late last season. So I don't actually think it's a safer play. I'd much rather play the Saints defense because I do believe, just purely off of the quarterback play of the Giants, regardless of who ends up sitting in there, whether they pull somebody at halftime, doesn't matter. Regardless of who's playing quarterback, Locke or Cutlets, it's going to be a disaster for the offense. So I'll lean towards the Saints there. Again, you got to remember that Saints defense, they're not pushovers. Like, they have played horribly at times this season, but they also held the Rams scoreless in the first half, So they can put together some solid, drives there as a defense, and they can put together, they got some veterans. They still have some guys that can make some noise. Judy or Garrett Wilson, Josh 007. It's not even remotely close for me. I would much rather play Jerry Judy. In fact, I'd play Jerry Judy 10 times out of 10 this week. Garrett Wilson is not someone that I'm willing to trust in the moment. Now, it's not like I'm saying that Garrett Wilson is a automatic sit, but in comparison to that alternative option, Judy's just a clear and away start. Headless Norseman sends in a question, says, in a full PPR, Adunze or Hawkinson? Man, that's a great question. As of right now, I'll lean towards Hawkinson, though. Alex99 says, is ETN a strong start this week? Strong start, I think, is a little bit of a... It depends on what you define as a strong start, right? Is he going to be the clear and away RB1 of the team? Sure. He's probably going to lead in terms of snaps. He's probably going to lead in terms of touches. And in that sense, he is going to be, in the realm of a possibility where he could fall into the end zone or have a solid day under the assumption that this offensive line can block that front seven of the Tennessee Titans. Is he a solid start? I mean, again, where I currently have him in a half PPR, let's see here. He's RB24. He should be solid. Is he going to be a world beater? I doubt it. Thank you. All right, we move on to a question that came in from Peyton Whitaker. Peyton, what's up? Says, hey, Pookie, Warren or White? Sorry, Warren and White, not bad starts. Look, here's the deal. White is not going to be a bad start ever. Again, considering how high-powered the offense is for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there's always going to be a possibility that down in the red zone on a specific drive in which they are kind of going back and forth with Bucky and White could be the one implicated for a touchdown. And that's always within the realm of possibility, on top of the fact that, again, he's still getting himself, on average over the course of the last 3 games, 13.7 touches per game. Like, he's still going to be very much so implicated for a solid baseline of touches, enough to where he is getting more touches than starting running backs on other teams. So as a backup, he's still very much so a solid play. Now, as for Warren, again, Warren, we've talked about this. In a half PPR, full PPR, half PPR, you're pretty much guaranteed like 7 to 9 points. In a full PPR, you're guaranteed like 9 to 11, 12 points. If he scores a touchdown, you break into that 13 to 15 point range. So again, if you're okay with that kind of baseline of production, then yeah, he's a solid play in his own right, considering the workload that he is being granted. All right, let's see here. Scrolling down, what do we have here in the chat? Maddie says, are we thinking Baker over Tua in a 4-point per passing touchdown? Like, no, I'd rather have Tua. Trevor Lim in the chat says, Westbrook, Ikine, Ingram, or Smitty? Depends on scoring format. Again, guys, do not forget, first and foremost, thank you for being here on this wonderful Friday night. I know you could be anywhere else in the world, but you decide to be here, so I greatly appreciate your guys' support. Whether you do type in the chat, whether you click the like button or not, doesn't matter. I do appreciate you guys. Again, do not forget, when you send in a question, regardless of whether it is super chat or live chat, include your scoring format. It makes it significantly easier for me to be able to dictate which way I want to go regarding your question with the context that you provide. So half PPR, full PPR, standard, just include one of those 3 phrases, and I'll understand where exactly we are trending in the direction of. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We had a super chat sent in from Tex Raider. Says, question in the chat. Much thanks. A bit of a complex one. Okay, Tex, let me see what we got here. Tex, where art thou? Okay, Tex, where art thou? Tex, we took care of your prior questions. What is this next one? Okay, here it is. It says, bit of a 2-part here. Ingram week 16-17 matchups looking like potential top 5 weeks. Okay. I mean, the matchup is top 5. I don't know about him specifically being top 5. We'll still start Njoku most likely. Yeah, I agree. With Kelsey, Bowers, McBride all quote unquote out of the playoffs. I'm confused as to what exactly this question is asking. It says, would you go glass cannon, okay, and drop Chubb and pick up Ingram to effectively block other streaming? Yes, I would. In your circumstance, based on the roster that I've seen that you have, if you were not to pick up Ramondre and you were purely just in the business of preventing other teams from having this value potentially available to them, then yes, I would go glass cannon in this form, to where I'm giving myself no insurance policy of a backup running back, and I'm just letting, Barkley and the other running back you have ride me into the fantasy championship. So yes, I am willing to take that kind of a path to where you are doubling up on tight end just to ensure that nobody else in your league has the possibility of picking up him and utilizing it against you. So yes, I think it's not even a tricky question. I think that is a proper strategy that you should employ. Again, there's a lot of inherent risk there, but in the same breath, again, we're willing to take those risks, right? I mean, you got to risk it for the biscuit sometimes, right? All right, let's see here. Emily Doyle sends in a question. Emily, thank you very much. Says, okay, picked up Ferguson. Play him over Jonnu or no? No, probably not. Now, I would consider playing Ferguson in the flex, depending on what your flex option is. But as for your starting tight end, Jonnu's Jonnu Smith right now. And he has been incredible as of late. I think they're both going to be solid plays this week, but Jonnu Smith is not only the safer, but also has the higher upside between the two of them. Thank you. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and type in the chat who you currently have in your flex option so I can kind of compare that in terms of the value of Ferguson, I'd be more than happy to take a look at that. We had a question that was a follow-up from Peyton Whitaker who says, I have Hunt plus Gus, Spears and Madison though. Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's Warren and White. They're fantastic. Those are your best 2 players out of all 6 running backs that you have mentioned here. So yeah, it's not even close in my mind, Peyton. You're good to go there, brother. OJ Running sends in a follow-up. Says, I have Swift, Braylon Allen, Aaron Jones. Drop Jonathan Brooks in a full PPR. I mean, yeah, again, listen, Jonathan Brooks is not going to really be a startable option henceforth. If you look at their upcoming schedule, there's a possibility that he could get himself some utilization, but outside of the event of Chuba Hubbard going down with an injury, Jonathan Brooks, in my mind, will not be ranked in my top 36 rest of season. He is definitely a miss in regards to what we potentially anticipated him to become in his rookie season. Obviously has not been able to really, take the backfield away from Chuba Hubbard, who is clear and away not only earned the starting running back job, but also earned the extension that, of course, he'll be in Carolina for the next 4 years with. All right, let's see here. What do we have in the live chat? Frosty, what's up? Frosty says Murray. We have two Frosties. We have one with a Z and one with an S. Okay, let's do the Frosty with his S real quick. It says Murray or Herbert. I'd rather play Kyler Murray. It says 5 point per passing touchdown. I'm torn. Okay, that makes it a little bit different. I mean, ultimately, between the two, that's actually an interesting one. In a 5 point per passing touchdown league. Am I going to make it that big of a difference? I mean, really, that's just a 2 point slide. If it's me, I still stick with Murray there as of right now. The other Frosty says, thank you for being here. I'm only half here. PoE is too good. Okay, I haven't even, yeah. All right, sounds good, brother. Somebody was asking me, like, are you going to play it? I'm probably not today. Nope. Listen, these weekends, I barely have time to sleep, much less play game. Let's see here. Jorge in the chat says DK Metcalf or Keenan Allen. Did DK even get a full participation in practice today? I believe he did. He got cleared from the injury report, right? Let me just confirm this. DK Metcalf, full participant. I want to play DK. I think I probably end up playing Keenan Allen, though, if it's my team. Thank you. Heart tells me DK. Mind tells me Keenan Allen based on utilization as of late. Jocelyn in the chat says, hey, bro, if Neighbors plays, is he still a good start, or would someone like Jennings be over him in a full PPR? Thanks, bro. Considering the coverage in Chicago, specifically their secondary, if Neighbors is going to be active, I would like to play him in a full PPR. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Zachary in the chat says, hey, Andrew, I have no RBs except for Tracy. I dropped Hunt for Charbonnet and picked up Sincere. If Kenneth plays, should I play Sincere over Charbonnet? Okay, so here's the thing. I do not believe that Sincere McCormick is a playable option unless we get a designation by Sunday morning that Alexander Madison is inactive. In the event in which Alexander Madison is inactive and Kenneth Walker is going to play, then you would play McCormick. Otherwise, in all other instances, I'm just going to play Charbonnet. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Trevor Lim says, sorry, full PPR. All right, Trevor says, Westbrook, Ikine, Ingram, Smitty. Okay, let me go check my rankings right now. Control F. Let's see where we have Ingram in comparison. As it currently stands, where are we at? Yeah. In this current iteration of my rankings, Ingram is the highest ranked of the bunch. Thank you. All right, we had a question that came in from Easy. He says, hey, you the man, Andrew, thank you very much. Says, suggestion, Superflex, 3 wide receiver league. We have Murray, Rush, Daniels. Okay, so considering you have, obviously, Daniels on a bye, you're playing Murray and Rush. Evans, Kupp, Neighbors, Ikine, Thielen. Okay, 3 wide receivers are going to be Evans, Kupp, and Neighbors, under the assumption that Neighbors is active by Sunday, which I do expect him to be. In the event in which he is inactive, you would then pivot to probably playing Ikine in a standard or half PPR and Thielen in a full. And if we move on to your running backs, I'm assuming you already played Montgomery. You have Achane. You have, I don't know who Rendon is. I'm trying to, off the top of my head, I'm trying to figure out who the heck that is, but I can't figure it out for the life of me. And then you have Braylon Allen. And then you have Bates as your kicker, Vikings as a defense. It says worth keeping Braylon Allen. Yes, it is worth keeping Braylon Allen, as you may be able to flex him this week, theoretically speaking. So for right now, that's the way we go about it. Achane and Montgomery are running backs. If you have an open like flex spot, it would be Braylon Allen there. Thank you. All right, we had a question from Peyton Whitaker. It's not even a question. It says, also, happy birthday. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, Peyton. Says, I had Kraft start. El Amon-Ra. Yeah, listen, Kraft, I said it. If he scores a touchdown, we'll be fine. If he doesn't, we'll be in trouble. He should have had 2 touchdowns yesterday. If it wasn't for Jordan Love, I mean, sometimes Jordan Love looks like he's the best quarterback in the league, and he deserves being the highest paid quarterback. Sometimes we look at him and we're like, what's going on over there? Because it's, the ebbs and flows are quite sharp, to say the least. Andrew Clark sends the question, says, hey, Andrew, another gross one for you. Okay, very well. Let's see. In a full PPR, I need 1 running back and 1 flex. We have Kareem Hunt, we have Jonathan Brooks, and Amari Cooper with Tyler Lockett. Okay, thanks. So, of those available options, jeez. If it's me, oh man, I don't want to play either. Oh, okay. Let's lock this in here. Hold up. Objectively speaking, Kareem Hunt is a better play than Jonathan Brooks. Okay. As for your second question, I do believe that Amari Cooper is a better play than Tyler Lockett. So Hunt and Amari Cooper will be my two suggestions. Yes, it's a gross question. I'm almost getting neck pain shooting into my skull because of this question, but I am more than happy to tank it for you, Angela. That's my two suggestions. Thank you. Joseph Weintraub sends in a question. Thank you, Joseph. Very generous of you. Says, hey, Andrew, cheers. I'm back in a 14-team half PPR. Purdy, Bucky, Pickens, Neighbors, Jackson Smith, Garrett Wilson, Ferguson. My bench consists of Vidal and Allen. Okay, very well. Cardinals defense. Am I crazy to stick with Purdy? I'm ready to drop Garrett Wilson. Please advise. Thank you. Okay, brother. So in a 14-team league, I don't think dropping a player of that caliber is feasible, or I don't think it's smart, because you're just going to help somebody else win the league. So just objectively speaking, the way that this current roster is set up, yes, I still do trust in Brock Purdy. Again, he had one bad week last week. I mean, whoop-de-doo. He played in the worst weather you could possibly ask for at the quarterback position. Only guys like Josh Allen, who play in Buffalo, are going to be used to and, be still reliable in that kind of a scenario. So I'm not worried about Purdy as of right now. Bucky solid, Pickens solid, Neighbors solid, Jackson Smith is great. So those are the three wide receivers you'd play: Pickens, Neighbors, and Jackson Smith. You have Ferguson, which is great. Don't know who your RB2 is, but I'm going to assume that you'll probably put Braylon Allen in there, and you'll be good to go. So, I mean, under the assumption that's the case, fantastic. Otherwise, do not drop Garrett Wilson. Please hold on roster and keep everything you have, because I do think this is a strong team. I'm actually curious what your record is in this 14-team league. Thank you, Joseph. OJ Running sends in a question. Says, Shakir or Jennings, rest of season PPR? As of right now, I'd rather... Ooh, that's a really good question. I think Jennings has more upside. I think that's purely just what it is. If I look at the 49ers' upcoming schedule here, just the pure fact that, unfortunately, Khalil Shakir is not touchdown kind of related makes him that much of a lesser play in my mind. When I look at the upcoming schedule, especially for the fantasy playoffs, Jennings versus the Rams. Again, earlier this season, Jennings went for 175 and 3 touchdowns against them. They take on Miami, which, again, even though it is technically a tougher matchup, I do expect that to be a high-scoring back-and-forth game. And then they take on Detroit, whose secondary at times cannot stop us all either. Again, Christian Watson yesterday was dominating against them. So I'm very comfortable picking Jennings in that scenario, under the assumption, of course, that Brock Purdy doesn't go anywhere. Thank you. Alrighty, let's see here. We continue on. I'm curious. Let's see, where are we at? We took care of that. All right, perfect. Matthew Wallace sends in a question. Thank you, Matthew. Says, how are we feeling about Ladd and Jacoby Myers? I feel great about them both. Again, listen, as the week progresses, there are going to be players that miss practice time. And in those instances, as long as they get any participation of practice by Friday, I am very confident. So considering both had limited participation today, that's all I needed to see to have the confidence to start them this weekend. Now, as for your question, it says, so who should I drop for Elijah Moore? Oh, interesting. We have Disley, Muth, Hunter Henry, or Algier in a half PPR. Wouldn't want to drop Algier with Bijan as my RB1. Yeah, so you should not drop Algier. I would not suggest you doing so either. If I was going to drop another potential option here, if it was my team, I'm probably dropping Disley in this scenario, keeping Henry and Muth, because I'd rather play Muth this week, and then henceforth every week for the remainder of the season, I'm playing Hunter Henry there. So Disley's the drop, keep everybody else, pick up Elijah Moore, and in the event in which maybe one of those two guys are inactive, you can play Elijah Moore. Otherwise, I'd love to play both those guys this weekend. Thank you, Matthew. Nani sends out a question. Nani _ says, 2 wide receivers, 1 running back, PPR. We have Debo, Brian Thomas Jr., Elijah Moore, ETN, Braylon Allen, and Gus Edwards. Cool. So as your RB1, I'm going to suggest playing Braylon Allen. As for the alternative options for wide receiver, in a PPR, I think it's probably in your best interest to play Brian Thomas Jr. and Elijah Moore. I don't think I'm playing Debo in a PPR. The guy can barely get over 20 receiving yards per game as of late. I don't think the receiving total of total receptions is going to be comparable to something of what an Elijah Moore or BTJ are capable of this weekend. If it is, so be it. Again, I don't want to get burnt again. That's where I'm at this point. God's Gang sends in a question. Says, do you have Braylon Allen ahead of Pacheco in a PPR? I do not. No. I have Pacheco ahead of him as of currently stands. Thank you. OJ Running sends in a follow-up. Says, keep the streak alive. Hit the like button. Yeah, listen. If I'm not mistaken, we have streamed every single day since September 5th. If I'm not mistaken. September 5th was the kickoff of the 2024 season, correct? Yeah, that Thursday. So technically, September, October, November. Now we're in December. So we've been here. Yeah, it's been a long trek, but it's been very fun. Again, it's only been fun because you guys have been here, right? If there's nobody here asking questions, if there's no community to continue to, bounce my ideas off of, and you guys continue to, build this live stream, then, I'm probably not here. But considering your guys' participation, that's why I thank you guys for being here. You could be anywhere else on this Friday night, but you choose to be here, and I greatly appreciate that. Thank you. Constantino says, what's up? PPR. I need RB2 and a flex between Bucky, K9, Rico, Braylon, and BTJ. Cool. Of those available options, if it was my team, I am playing Bucky and Rico. That's the way that I go about it. Now, that's even if Kenneth Walker plays, okay? Just so we're all on the same page. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Matthew Wall says, someone dropped Purdy in my league while I have Nix and Caleb Williams. Dropped Caleb for Brock. Am I mad? No, you're not crazy for that. That's fantastic. I have no issue with that at all in my mind. Thank you. Again, I will say, though, that Caleb Williams does have some upcoming games here. Depending on how the weather turns out, obviously will kind of play a factor, but he plays against Minnesota and Detroit again, where he recently played relatively well against both them, but I still prefer Brock Purdy rest of the way, assuming he's healthy. Thank you. All right, let's hear. Corey Miller says questions in the chat. Thank you, Corey. He says, I added Equinemius St. Brown, not to start, but stash, but to add him to the locker room that has his Amon-Ra, who's been very underwhelming. Should we panic? I mean, look, at this point, what can we do? Amon-Ra is one of the best receivers in the National Football League and one of the best fantasy receivers. Now, as of late, has he been what he typically is? Absolutely not. The current iteration of the Detroit Lions offense does not exist with a heavy workload of Amon-Ra, nor does it include a heavy workload for someone like Sam Laporta. It is very different in comparison to what we saw last season, but it is the current iteration. Can we lean away from Amon-Ra? Sure, maybe if you've got an alternative option in the top 12 capacity, you can. But outside of that, the rest of us are just in a position to where we have to continue to play him, and he will either lead us to the promised land or he will bury us. And in that event, then next year when it's our turn to pick in the first and second round, we will reevaluate the decision of picking Amon-Ra in that scenario. Let's see here. But I do like the mentality of bringing in. Listen, besides bringing in the brother, you should probably bring in instead of Equinemius St. Brown, bring in again, I think Onage said it the other day. He's like, why is Tom Brady still available on ESPN? It's because, you got to bring in the GOAT into your locker room sometimes to be on the bench in order to kind of give everybody hey, we gotta wake up. The GOAT's here kind of, aspect. All right, Alfredo in the chat says, Braylon Allen or Tracy? I'd rather play Braylon Allen this week. That's probably the direction I go in. Troops McGee sends in a question, says PPR Superflex, 4-point per passing touchdown. Flex, Bucky or Tua? Wow, that's a great question. I'd still play Tua there. Tua's been incredible. I have a hard time not playing the quarterback in a Superflex format, especially considering, again, he's going to have so much potential opportunity for success in that circumstance. I'm just curious, why is Bucky not in your starting rotation already? What kind of roster do you have there, Tubes? Says, I went Bucky last week. Then, listen, if you feel confident enough to go Bucky again this week, go for it. Go Buck Wild. But as of right now, I'd always lean towards, especially a quarterback that I have ranked in my top 5 for the remaining quarterbacks. I'd have a hard time benching him there. All right, let's see here. Terry in the chat says, full PPR, should I start Judy over A.J. Brown? Worried about Barkley stealing the show? Okay, you can. Would I suggest it? No, but certainly if you have the internal fortitude to see the potential of A.J. Brown going for 25 on your bench, if you can live with that kind of a move of that potentially occurring, if you have the mental fortitude and the physical fortitude to sustain that, go for it. Otherwise, me personally, I don't have the stomach to bench A.J. Brown in the event in which he goes off on my bench and I'm like, why did I make this stupid decision? Mark K says, Marvin Harrison Jr. or Ridley? I'm feeling like Ridley revenge game it is. Yeah, I do not disagree. I probably also go with the Ridley revenge game. The only issue that I have is the potential weather. From what I saw yesterday, let me just establish this really quickly. If I'm not mistaken, there could be a lot of rain in that game this weekend. Yeah, so we'll have to keep an eye on it by the time we get to Sunday morning's live stream and all that overall situation. Where it currently sits, it says it's a 33% chance of rain. Let's see if the game's raining in Tennessee. If it is, we'll probably lean away from him. But in the event in which it's clear skies by the time we get to Sunday morning, I'd be okay rolling with him as well. Thank you. All right, we had Christopher send the question, says Braylon Allen or Tony Pollard in a standard. I'd much rather play Tony Pollard. Thank you. Smile Wipe sends in a question, says full PPR. Start 2 running backs and 1 flex. Okay. We have Braylon Allen, James Conner, Najee Harris, or Isaac Guerrero. Out of those available options, if I'm starting 3 of them, I'm starting Najee, I'm starting Isaac Guerrero, and James Conner. I'm benching Braylon Allen. Also, 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. We have Mike Evans, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Lad McConkey, Brian Thomas, and Juwan Jennings. Okay. Oh, no. Is it Juwan Jennings or Juwan Johnson? Because the way that you spelt it, Smile, makes me think that it's Juwan Johnson. Let me just confirm this real quick. I don't know. Juwan. Yeah. So the way you spelt it was the way that Juwan Johnson is spelt. If it's Juwan Jennings, it's spelled differently. So please let me know in the live chat. Is it Jennings or Johnson that you're referring to in that second question so that I can answer that one? Because for right now, like I'm probably leaning towards Mike Evans, Lad McConkey as the 1-2 combo. Depending on the status of Neighbors, Jennings would play. Otherwise, it will be Neighbors. So again, it just depends on what the situation is regarding which player you're referring to there. Alrighty, 9to5 Adventure says PPR Metcalf in the flex, Hawkinson or Garendo. I'm going to play Garendo there, to be honest. Patrick 510 says I have Darnold, Baker, Steelers defense. Okay. Thinking about dropping one of my quarterbacks to pick up a Ravens defense for next week. Absolutely do it. 100%. No questions asked. I'm all in on that idea. Says thoughts. Which quarterback would you roll with the rest of the season? If I win this week, I get a week 15 bye. Okay. So I'm going to assume that, let's just say worst case scenario in your current circumstance. Okay. Patrick 510. Let's say you lose this week. Okay. Just so that we can have the hypothetical of preparing for week 15 and beyond, right? So you would theoretically drop one of those 2 quarterbacks in order to prepare for the remainder of the season. In the event of doing so, you'd pick up the Ravens defense so you can play them next week against the Giants. So looking at the rest of the season strength of schedule between Darnold and Baker, who are both fantastic quarterbacks, it's purely just a matter of, let's see here, rest of season strength of schedule quarterback. Okay. As it currently stands, the better strength of schedule belongs to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but ever so slightly. If I was going to pick one of the 2 quarterbacks to play for rest of season, personally, you know, what scares the crap out of me is that Baker in this offense just becomes run heavy for the rest of the season. I think I'd probably rather have Darnold, to be totally honest. That's probably the way I go. If I was in your position, though, I'm actually curious what other options you have to theoretically drop there. Smile says Jennings, sorry. No problem. Yeah, so here's the thing, Smile. If we're going to go about it this week, it's Mike Evans, it's Lad McConkey. In the event in which Malik Neighbors plays, he would start. Otherwise, if he doesn't, then we pivot to playing Juwan Jennings. Thank you. All right, so we took care of those questions. We took care of that one. Denon, what's up? Says, should I pick up Braylon Allen or Isaiah Davis? Because the last game he was targeted more. Yeah, I mean, look, if we're looking purely just for targets, sure, but I'm not too worried about it. As of right now, I'm still going to lean towards Braylon. He will be the early down back. The target out of the backfield for this offense has not been consistent. So considering the inconsistency of targets, I would lean towards probably neither of the 2 being implicated for very much work within that category. So for now, I'm just going to lean towards Braylon Allen there. Denon, thank you. Troobs McGee sent in a follow-up. So starting running backs are Cook and Achane. Saints or Bills defense for this week? I'd rather have the Saints defense. They're my number 1 defense on the week. But for the Bills, I'd like to hold the Bills for weeks 16 and 17. They play against New England and the Jets in those 2 weeks. That's like a fantasy championship dream. Matthew Wallace says, thoughts on Dicker the kicker this week? Should be fantastic. Again, if I'm not mistaken, there's not any weather concerns, right? I don't even know if they play in LA or not, but let's see. They play in Kansas City, Sunday Night Football, no weather concerns, no wind concerns. I'm 100% good with playing Dicker the kicker in that circumstance. Typically, Justin Herbert has played relatively well in his career. Actually, he's played better than he typically does anywhere else in Kansas City. He always steps up for the task on hand when traveling there. All right, let's see here. Football says, hey, Andrew, 2 questions. Full PPR. I have JJ as my wide receiver 2. Is Neighbors or Judy this week? Okay. Is Neighbors or Judy? Okay, so wide receiver 2, Neighbors or Judy. I'm going to play Judy there this week. Next question says, week 15 and 16, who is the play? It depends on Neighbors' health and who plays quarterback. Otherwise, I'm probably going to lean towards Judy every week henceforth through the remainder of the season, alongside of JJ football. And then for your next question, says also Bills or Vikings week 16. I'd rather have the Bills. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question from Santino, who says, scroll up for my question. Sounds good, Santino. Thank you. Santino. All right, Santino says, in a must-win matchup, saw your rankings, but I can't decide between Kyler or Herbert or it says, and Pacheco and Jennings in the flex. Okay, cool. Bucky and Walker are my running backs. Okay, so you're going to probably have to replace Walker here, brother. And then DJ Moore and Myers and wide receivers lost Hall today. Okay, so you not only did you lose Hall today, you're probably going to lose Walker this weekend. If I had to, just be prepared for that. So in the event in which Walker doesn't play, expect to most likely have to play Pacheco as your RB2 and Jennings in your flex, which again is probably going to be what's going to take place considering Walker did not practice a single time this week, which does not bode well for his status on Sunday. As for Kyler and Herbert, again, as of right now, I'm still leaning towards Kyler in that circumstance. If you want to play Herbert, I don't have an issue with that overall circumstance. It's purely just going to be a matter of, can Kyler Murray get the rushing yardage? If he gets the rushing yardage, he is clearing away the better running back. He's clearing away the better quarterback of the two. But again, he's at times kind of lost himself and avoided the running games for some reason. All right, let's see here. Christopher sends in a follow-up question. Says, rate my team 1 out of 10, please. I don't do 1 out of 10s. We don't do rookie numbers here. Okay, so we have a point. So I'm not going to give you a 1 through 10. I'll give you a point decimal number in there. So let's see what we have here. It says PPR. We have quarterback Tua. Running backs are Chase Brown, Bijan Robinson, London, JSN, Jonnu Smith. Flexes Marvin Harrison. Cardinals defense Boswell. My bench consists of Jonathan Brooks, Quorum, Jennings, Kyler, Nix, Vidal, JMO. Do you think I can win the chip with this team? I mean, look, I think the ultimate, truly, I'm not even joking. Your 100% contingency on whether you win the league or not is going to be your wide receivers. If Jonnu Smith, Jonnu Smith's going to do what he does. Chase Brown and Bijan are fantastic. Tua's been on a hot streak. If London and JSN and Marvin Harrison can put it together, again, I mean, those are your contingencies. Those are your X factors. If they score touchdowns, which again, the wide receiver position, typically not known for scoring touchdowns, especially those members. London's been absent of a touchdown for many of weeks. JSN has scored a couple in the last couple weeks, but again, very much so not a commonality in terms of his overall workload. If those guys score touchdowns, yes, you're more than capable of winning it. If I was going to give this team a rating for remainder of season based on where it currently stands, I'd say that this is like a strong 8.6. This is a strong 8.6 of a team going forward. I think the bench could be improved a little bit. Brooks primarily, maybe looking to an alternative option. But other than that, I think it's a pretty strong team across the board. Steve Posner says, Andrew, Shanahan says he wants to get Debo the ball more. Okay. Do you have any feelings that Debo wakes up this week? I mean, listen, if Shanahan specifically has said that he wants to get someone the ball more, all we have to do is purely go back to what Shanahan has said in the past. I think on Twitter, there's someone that I follow. It's called Coach Speak Index. If they have found any information regarding the reliability on Kyle Shanahan's public statements regarding those kind of things and the actual relay of that occurring, then sure, we can potentially buy in on those words. I'll do some research this weekend, Steve. If you see the ranking of Debo increase by the time we get to Sunday morning's live stream, it'll most likely be because we can probably take Shanahan at his word. If that's the case, then yeah, I don't have an issue going and playing Debo this week, assuming he gets the touches, because really that is what's been absent. Opportunity has been absent, therefore a successful kind of upside has not been there. Again, also no touchdowns. All right, let's see here. Emily in the chat says, okay, I went back to see if you answered my Ferguson Shakir flex question. I did not. Says, but I don't think you did. No, I didn't. I didn't see that. Okay, let's see what you have here. I'm worried that you answered it while No, I didn't answer. I didn't even see it, Emily. Okay, so Ferguson or Shakir in the flex. Let me see where I have them ranked accordingly as it currently stands. It's a half PPR question, correct, Emily? Let's see where I have Shakir. Oh, man. Okay, hold up. Let me go and I need to open up the projections log real quick. Because where they're currently sitting, they're back-to-back in my rankings. And it's almost as if it's scripted, but it's not. I swear it's not. Let's see here. Ferguson. I need to control F3 search function Ferguson. Okay. And then, yeah. I mean, at this point, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very. I think we just play Shakir there just to be safe for right now. Let's just play Shakir. Controlled weather environment. We're fine there. I would consider playing Ferguson. Again, they're relatively close, but let's just lean towards Shakir. Thank you. What do we have here? Okay, so the next question above Emily was Sam, who said Connor or Jonnu Smith in the flex full PPR. Sam, I'm going to be totally honest. I'm playing Jonnu Smith there. Like, it's... I don't even care if James Conner was playing let's say the best running back matchup, let's say he was taking on Carolina this week, I think I'd still go with Jonnu Smith. That's how, I mean, maybe I wouldn't, but still, Jonnu Smith is a machine in a full PPR at this point. It's kind of hard not to go with him. I Spy says Reichard trending towards playing this week. Do I pick him up? You know, earlier today I saw he was questionable. So, I mean, let me go look at his practice reports just to confirm what his status is. So he practiced in full every day. So yeah, if he's going to practice in full and he's going to be activated and ready to go for the starting lineup, yes, I would pick him up and absolutely play him this week. Let me see. Does Minnesota play at home this week? NFL. Let's see here. In terms of, yeah, they play in home, controlled weather environment. Reichard would be an absolute pickup and play there. All right, Access MIA says Gus Edwards or Charbonnet. Under the assumption that Kenneth Walker is out, it's Charbonnet. Otherwise, it's Gus Edwards. Next question, quarterback Winston, Williams, or Wilson? I'd play Russell Wilson there. Thank you. Let's see here. Denon says Pacheco or Charbonnet this week. Under the assumption that Kenneth Walker is out, I'd play Charbonnet. Let's see here. Hey, Andrew, who would you sit in PPR? AJ Brown, Cup, CD, or Kyron? In a PPR, I'm sitting Kyron. Thank you. Let's see here. Constantino says, I guess it's closer than I thought. Yeah, it is. For me, it is. I mean, maybe it's different for others, but for me, it's pretty close. Eric says, PPR start 2, Dowdle, Thielen, Braylon. If it's me, I think I'm playing both running backs. That's probably the way I go about it. If Bucky and K9 miss, would you start Sharp and White? Yeah, I would. Nostradamus. Absolutely. Daniel Caps, what's up? Says, didn't set my lineup and left Monty on the bench. Thank God, clinched the first round bye. Yeah, listen, considering you said that, you clinched the first round bye, it doesn't matter what you do, right? So you're good to go there. Alrighty. All right, let me see here. Where are we at in terms of how long we've been here for? Okay, it's almost an hour in. Okay. So again, I'll probably keep this live stream relatively short because we'll be back again tomorrow, starting at 1 p.m. PST, where I'll be live streaming here on the channel. Again, I'll be back on Sunday morning. Again, I do appreciate y'all coming through. We'll answer a couple more questions, then I'll be heading out. Again, it's a Friday night. I got places to be, people to see. When I say that, I mean I got my computer and a couple new video games that came out. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. We'll see if I have time for it. Obviously, I want to go through every injury report and get all that broken down just so I can have every projection to the exact T. So that'll probably be my first priority as soon as I get off here. But I do appreciate y'all coming through. Patrick510 says, I have Tillman, Mooney, Tracy, Algier, Benson, Elijah Moore on my bench. I have Bijan and Connor. Tillman should be on your IR. Mooney's, Tracy. I mean, you guys are pretty good options there, Patrick, to be honest. Let me scroll all the way down here. Matthew Wallace sent in another question. Matthew, what's your question, my man? Says, I have Ladd and Dicker the kicker the past few weeks. That's the only thing that I see. What else do I see in the chat from Matthew Wallace? Matthew, if you can, says, has someone dropped Purdy in my league? Yeah, I mean, I answered that one. I don't think you're crazy for making that drop. I have no issue with it at all. So if you had another question, do me a favor, type it in the chat or change up the overall kind of setup of how your question is phrased. So it may not auto, moderate you out. Let's see here. San Marcos has a few questions up in the chat. All right, San Marcos. That's a good one. It says, hey, Andrew, would you consider dropping Darnold for Richardson before kickoff? Hurts is my starting quarterback, but I hear a lot of people say Richardson could be a league-winning quarterback. I mean, his upcoming matchup, specifically weeks 16 and 17, are very much so appealing. I don't like his week 15 matchup, if I'm not mistaken. He plays against Denver. Let me confirm this. Where are the Colts? The Colts play against Denver, yeah. So in weeks 16 and 17, sure, I have no issue with that move. Again, you're not going to play Darnold anyway, so might as well make the swap. I mean, really, by the time you get to 16, I doubt that you're going to be sitting Jalen Hurts anyway. But yeah, I mean, in the event in which you would look to do so, if you're comfortable with it, then go for it. Highlight says, in a full PPR, I have Lamb, Metcalf, Keenan Allen, and Judy. Who do I start in the flex? As of all those options, Judy's your flex. Thank you. All right, scrolling all the way back down. Let's see if Matthew Wall sent in the question. I got to close all these tabs before my computer explodes. All right, let's see here. Okay. Scrolling all the way down. We're good to go. Christopher sends in a question. Says, rate my team, please. And guess my record. Okay, look, guessing your record is an impossibility. Can I tell you why? Because what your team currently sits at is not what it looked like 10 weeks ago, right? So I don't know what you did in weeks 1 through 4, right? I don't know who was on your roster. I don't know what trades you've made. Now, I can make a guess, but it's not going to be accurate. All right, let's see here. It says my quarterback is Jalen Hurts, wide receivers Justin Jefferson. We have Pickens, we have Barkley, we have Jacobs, we have Trey McBride, we have Bucky, we have Terry McLaurin, Kenneth Walker. Okay, so looking at the team as a whole, I'm going to guess you're an 8-5 team. I'm going to guess you have an 8-5 record. That's my objective guess. Because again, I don't know how long this team has looked like this. Thank you. As for ranking this team or rating this, I mean, objectively speaking, and it's not even remotely close, this team is as close to perfect as you can get. I say this is a 9.4 team. Rest of the way. Alrighty, let's see here. There was a question in the chat that says, Neighbors, Judy, Jefferson, AJ Brown. I need 3. I'd play Judy, Jefferson, and AJ Brown there. Let's see here. Frosty says, Snack Charbonnet because I needed the Kenneth Walker owner to lose. Okay, it says, if Charbonnet does get the start, should I flex him over Shakir or more? Yeah, personally, I'd play him over Shakir. Billy says, must win week. I need an RB2 between Vidal, Spears, Amir Abdullah, Isaiah Davis, and Chris Rodriguez. Chris Rodriguez is not playing this week. He's on bye week. So of those available options, if I was going to play one of them, it'd probably be Tyjae Spears 1 and Amir Abdullah 2. That's probably the direction I go in. Let's see here. Marco sends in a question. Says, in a half PPR, Westbrook or Moore? If it's Elijah Moore or it's DJ Moore, it matters. If it's DJ Moore, it's an auto start. If it's Elijah Moore, probably... Okay, let's think about this. If it's DJ Moore or Elijah Moore, both those get the start. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question. It says full PPR, 2 out of 2. Seattle or Titans? I'd rather play Titans defense this weekend. Thank you. Alrighty. Joe says Russell Wilson or Cooper Rush in a league. Yeah, as of right now, Russell Wilson gets the start. Ray Davis or Gus Edwards? I'd rather play Gus Edwards. All right, y'all. I think that's where we're going to call it right there. I do appreciate you coming through. Again, earlier today, we dropped the Hidden Gems video. If you haven't checked that out, be sure to do so. Again, we have a couple entries via Underdog at the end of that episode. Outside of that, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Friday night. I'm going to go ahead and call it there. I'll be back tomorrow afternoon, 1 p.m. PST, answering questions. Also, again, Sunday morning, 7 a.m. PST. If you guys have any questions and potentially want to swing on by then, you could do so. Otherwise, you could check out the Patreon. Link is in the description, where you can get rankings for this upcoming Sunday and have unlimited questions asked in my direction. Or, of course, check out Underdog, like we always mention. Signing up using code Andrew, making that first time deposit minimum of $10 will get you the rankings every Sunday morning, with the potential to, of course, potentially follow the upcoming entries we make. All right, guys. I appreciate y'all. We had a question, final one coming in from Christopher. Says, I'm 11-2 and dominating everyone. I mean, looking at your team, if you legitimately have had this team the whole way, I would expect that would be the case. But I would have thought that a couple trades were probably made, like you traded for Pickens later on in the year, or you traded for Jacobs later on in the year. Because having Jacobs, Barkley, Pickens, JJ, Hurts, McBride, Bucky should be illegal with Kenneth Walker on the bench, brother. Like, I mean, that should be illegal. It looks like, again, a 9.4 is solid. Chances are you win the league. I mean, really, it seems like it's all she wrote. All right, guys, I appreciate y'all. Enjoy the double helix. And until tomorrow, I'll see you guys. Peace. All right, I've got time for three, and I quote, three more questions. The next three questions that are typed in the chat. If you are still here, the 150 of you that it says, according to the system, that are still present, I will happily answer the next three questions. Take your time. Constantino, there you are. It says PPR. Where approximately are you ranking Braylon? Okay, so let's say, for example, we used Tuesday's rankings as a template, okay? Under the assumption that we're using that as a template, let me go ahead and pull up my own rankings from this Tuesday. So from the template on Tuesday, I would have him ranked. So I had Brees Hall at 17. I'd probably have him lower than where Brees Hall was originally at. So I'd probably have him. So he'd be at like number. Okay, so using Tuesday's template, under the assumption that we're leaving Gibbs and Jacobs and Montgomery still in there, he would probably, okay, so if we pulled out Brees Hall and moved everyone up one, so like Aaron Jones goes up one, Najee goes up one, Pacheco goes up one, he would be right behind Pacheco. So again, pretty much like he'd be number 20, above Chuba Hubbard, White, Tracy, etc. You know what I mean? Cool. Next question. Yeah, Jocelyn says most likely top 20. Yeah, 20. Good one, Jocelyn. I mean, literally on the fucking dot, huh? Thanks to the Marvel post credit, no problem. Onage says, have you ever played Power Wash Simulator? Brother, if I ever did, okay, I was going to say something never mind. No, I have not, my good sir. I have not played that game. Owen says, Chubb or Sharps. Under the assumption that Kenneth Walker is out, it's not even close. It's Charbonnet. In the event in which Kenneth Walker does in fact play, then you have to play Chubb there. All right. Okay, I feel bad, so I'll answer a couple more. Luke C says, is Isaiah Davis, Braylon backup, worth a speculative ad since he's been getting work lately? I mean, again, the most recent work is this last week. Is he going to get touches this week? Absolutely. Is he going to be the starting running back or the majority shareholder of touches? No. So again, for me personally, I don't see a reason as to why I would add him, especially considering, again, I don't expect Brees Hall to miss multiple consecutive weeks. Power Wash Simulator is dope. Brother, you guys are cooked. You guys are brain fried. That is the most brain rot thing I've ever heard in my entire life. All right, guys. Thank y'all. Have a great one. And until next time, I'll see y'all. Peace.